July 8th, 1892. Police Inspector Eduardo Alvarez sits at his desk in La Plata, Buenos Aires province of Argentina, holding a letter that traveled over 300 miles to reach him. The report is grim. A double murder in the coastal town of Necochea, committed 10 days earlier on June 29th. Chief of Police Guillermo Núñez has reached out with a desperate plea for Alvarez's expertise. Alvarez couldn't have known it then, but he was stepping into a crime scene that would revolutionize forensic science, not just in Argentina, but across the globe. Investigating a crime from 1892 Argentina is a challenge. Primary sources are rare, like trying to find a needle in a haystack. What follows is a reconstruction based on the best available records. Some details may not align with others, as you might imagine. On the evening of June 29th, the coastal town of Necochea was shattered by a rumor that felt more like a ghost story than reality. Francisca Rojas, screaming her heart out in front of her house. She is visibly injured around her neck. She cries out,
"He killed my children. He did this heinous crime."
When the neighbors arrive, they witness something no one should see. The bodies of two children, ages 6 and 4, lay on a blood-drenched bed. Immediately, they inform the authorities. The police then question the mother about the person she is accusing. Unlike today, criminal investigation wasn't based on scientific evidence. They tended to press charges based on verbal confirmations or witness statements from the crime scene. In this case, they have a witness, Francisca Rojas, the mother. The evidence isn't just verbal, it's etched into her skin. The injuries to her throat serves as the ultimate corroboration for her accusation. According to Rojas, her neighbor named Ramon Velázquez is infatuated with her and has decided to propose, knowing that she was either estranged or separated from her previous marriage at the time. When she rejected him, he threatened to kill her children out of anger and jealousy. Within the hour, police are at the door of Ramon Velázquez, taking him into custody as the prime suspect in a double murder. People who know Velázquez cannot believe he is capable of such an act. At first, the police assumed this would be an open and shut case. Velázquez denies being the killer. Then again, who would admit he is a cold-blooded killer who kills innocent children? They decide to keep him in a cell overnight, hoping he will come to his senses in the morning. To everyone's surprise, Velázquez unyieldingly sticks to his word. Out of frustration, the police decide to go with the only option they have left to get a confession: torture. They beat and torture Velázquez until the sun comes up, and they continue this mercilessly for days. According to some reports, they even put Velázquez in a room with the bodies of the two children, hoping the guilt would be so unbearable he will end up admitting to his crimes. After hours of agony, Velázquez finally mumbles something. The inspector leans in close, confident they've successfully broken him. "I did not, he repeats through a bloody mouth. Disappointed, they call it a day. The whole Necochea police station falls to a halt. The people demand justice. The mother, Francisca Rojas, demands justice. Feeling helpless, Chief of Police Guillermo Núñez decides to write to his colleague in La Plata. When Inspector Alvarez receives the letter, he reads it carefully. He is bewildered by the crime, but he's also intrigued that the local police have failed to solve it, even with a suspect in custody. Alvarez arrives the next day in Necochea. He learns just how much they've tortured Velázquez, and he also learns that the man has a credible alibi. Alvarez decides to visit the crime scene immediately, even though a week has already passed. It's a small bedroom. Bedsheets and mattresses have been cleaned by now, which is useless for his observations. For hours, he thinks about what must have happened if Velázquez isn't the killer. And if he is innocent, that means the real killer is roaming free. Moments after, Alvarez interviews Rojas. Her answers seem normal at first, but when Alvarez compares her new statement to the previous report, he notices the stories aren't aligning. First, she said the killing was over a rejected proposal. Now, she claims Velázquez was sent by her estranged husband to take the children away, and he turned violent when she refused. This raises Alvarez's suspicions, but he doesn't raise the alarm yet. He returns to the house one more time. Again, he finds nothing. He hunches down in the middle of the room, feeling defeated, guilty that he might not avenge these innocent souls. He looks around one last time. At a glance, the door catches his eye. He moves closer. There is a suspicious dark blood-stained patch, dried against the wood. To understand what happens next, we need to go back a few years to see how forensic science was evolving. In the mid-1800s, with the invention of photography, police in Europe saw a new potential. This gave birth to the famous mugshot. Later, a French officer named Alphonse Bertillon introduced his own method, identifying people by measuring parts of the body, height, head length, and even the length of a finger, and another few measurements of human body structure. While it worked for identifying repeat offenders, it wasn't perfect. Since it was primarily designed for adult men, it was almost impossible to apply to women and children. In 1880, a Scottish surgeon named Henry Folds, who was working in Tokyo at the time, published a paper on the power of fingerprints. But when he took the idea to London's Metropolitan Police, they rejected him. Then came Sir Francis Galton. He published a book simply titled Fingerprints. He presented a mathematical model showing that the chance of two people having the same fingerprint was 1 in 64 billion. This was a huge green light to finally consider fingerprints as a reliable way of human identification. Even with this evidence, the justice system was slow to change. But Juan Vucetich, an Argentine police officer who was inspired by Galton's work, began recording the prints of every police personnel and criminal at his station in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Inspector Eduardo Alvarez was one of Vucetich's students, and this is where the science and our story finally reconnect. With a close examination, Alvarez decides to cut out the part of the door for further investigation. His hunch is right. There is a fingerprint. Using the teachings he learned from Vucetich, he makes a copy of the print. He brings a bottle of ink and a wood plate to Velázquez and takes his prints. He repeats the same procedure with Francisca Rojas as well. Since this was a brand new technique at the time, Alvarez was basically putting his career on the line. With that in mind, he takes his time to go through both sets of prints and compare them to the one found on the door. There's a match, but it isn't Velázquez's. It belongs to Francisca Rojas, the mother of the two murdered children. With this shocking revelation, Inspector Alvarez confronts Rojas. Feeling cornered, Rojas finally admitted to the unthinkable. Rather than letting her estranged husband take the children, she killed them while they slept, and then self-inflicted her own wounds to frame Velázquez. Soon after, the Necochea police released Velázquez. Alvarez knew this case was the ultimate proof of Vucetich's fingerprint identification method. He sat down and wrote a letter to his mentor. Dear Juan, the moment has arrived to tell you that you were right about that which you explained to me so many times, and which our chief Nunes took up with such determination. I am referring to fingerprints, which now, in the case of the Necochea crime, has served as a powerful aid to demonstrate in an evident matter who was the true author of a savage crime, for which an honest neighbour, whom she accused in the first place, and imprisoned. This marked the first case that was solved using fingerprints as evidence. While the progression of forensic science was slow and at times not as accurate as we would like it to be, the pioneers were brave enough to try. People like Henry Folds, Francis Galton, Juan Vucetich, Eduardo Alvarez, and Guillermo Núñez laid the foundation for the biometric identification we are so used to today. Today, approximately 2.9 billion people have their fingerprints recorded around the world,